got another episode of RRX Podcast this week, and my name is Frank. Can I get my co-hosts to introduce themselves?
Hey y'all, this is Matt.
All right,
Hi everyone, this is Kyra.
all right,
What's going on, everybody? This is K Dub.
all right. So this week we got K Dub that's coming in to help us out with being able to contribute to the conversation. We are definitely grateful for him being able to come on in reference to just being able to talk with us, rap with us, on a few things when it comes down to the topic at hand. With that said, the topic that we're going to talk about this week is going to be called paradox of choice or the choice paradox. Now, as far as this particular concept, this concept comes from a psychologist by the name of Barry Schwartz. All right, Barry Schwartz. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and read the definition that we have here, as far as the definition for paradox of choice, so we can all understand what that concept is. All right. So, paradox of choice definition. The paradox of choice principle is explored by the American psychologist Barry Schwartz in his book, The Paradox of Choice: Why More is Less, that was written back in 2004. Schwartz shows how, instead of increasing our capacity to make a decision, an abundance of choice can often lead to feelings of anxiety, loneliness, and depression. Even if we might believe we'd be happier if given a large range of choices in everyday life, we actually make better decisions and end up happier and more satisfied when fewer options are presented to us. Reducing choices will reduce consumer anxiety, as too many options is overwhelming for our brains, and having to choose just one option from a large selection of desirable options often leads us to feel unsatisfied and hung up on those other possibilities we missed out on. The more choices we are given, the higher our expectations become, and the lower our sense of final accomplishment and satisfaction. It can even lead to suspended action, where we are so overwhelmed by the choice on offer that we fail to make a decision at all. All right? So that's baseline definition of paradox of choice or the choice paradox. Now, here's what I think when it comes down to the paradox of choice. Of course, this is actually an idea I had in reference to us being able to, have an episode where we talk about it. We may even do another episode because we can really expound upon this topic itself. But here's the idea that I think of when it comes down to paradox of choice. So, in a society where you're given so many choices, doesn't matter what actual area it's in, but you're given so many choices, of course you need to make a decision when it comes down to making the best choice possible. But with making the best choice possible, are you really making the best choice with all these options that are available to you? I'll give one basic example. So let's say you go to the grocery store, right? Go to the grocery store, and then all of a sudden you thinking about being able to do a recipe for stuffed bell peppers, right? Stuffed bell peppers, right? You have the stuffed bell peppers, and you're in the section where they have many different types of bell peppers. You got your green ones, I particularly like the green ones because I think they're, more good as far as being able to do as much as you want with them. You have red bell peppers, you have yellow bell peppers, you have orange bell peppers, right? You have all these different types of bell peppers. I've even seen purple bell peppers. Okay? I've even seen purple ones, right? Now, let's just say if I didn't have in mind wanting to actually get the green bell peppers to be able to make my stuffed bell peppers, when it comes down to, a little bit of cheese, maybe some, beans here and there, black beans, a little bit of ground turkey, what may have you, be able to sprinkle that with a little bit of crumbs, you know what I'm saying? Be able to do up the recipe how it need to be done, right? But I go to the grocery store. I don't even have green bell peppers in mind. I just am thinking about getting a bell pepper, but I can't really make a decision. Okay? Where I may think, oh, well, maybe the red bell pepper would be best. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that'll go well with the ground turkey. Or maybe the green bell pepper would be best. Maybe that will have a savory taste when it comes down to the cheese that I might end up using. Okay? But all of a sudden, I'm standing there for about 30 minutes trying to make a choice on bell pepper. And then through trying to make a choice on bell pepper, I all of a sudden decide that I don't even want to make stuffed bell peppers anymore. Now, I just want to bake some fish. You see what I'm saying? Like, I went to the grocery store. I probably got the fish already in the freezer. I didn't even take the fish out. I went to the grocery store essentially for nothing, and I just wasted some gas. You know what I'm saying? So, that can be used as one example of paradox of choice, where I set up trying to make one decision, trying to make one choice, and I'd even make the choice because I'm in my mind not really solidifying what choice I really want to make. And I all of a sudden change the scope of the choice that I decide to make. You know? Let's take that example, right? And transfer it over to the concept of, I don't know, dating. Where oftentimes you have human beings looking at other human beings like separate delectable dishes to just delve into, as if, a human being is just a dish to delve into. But then we have multiple choices in mind. We probably have a baseline of what we want when it comes down to a choice in partner, right? We may not even be thinking about having a partner in life. We're just thinking about having a partner only. We see that, one, there could be many options when it comes down to being within a certain race, or many options in the scope of, let's say, interracial dating. But then in different races, you have many different options within those races, right? But let's just say if we decide to just delve into one race or one type of vegetable, and then all of a sudden we go back and forth on, I don't like her personality. I don't like the way she look at me. Her eyes are too droopy. She ain't really got the figure that I would like to be able to see in a woman. Or her personality is just fucked up. Or, yeah, she's too nice. But, she got to have a little bit of spice with her. And then all of a sudden, we just decide, oh, well, all these options that are available ain't really the options for me. Let me go ahead and completely change the scope of who I want to be with in one aspect. And just all of a sudden, just go to another aspect where I'm completely changing the look of the human being, or completely changing the dish as a whole. Anybody got something to say on that note?
Okay, I was gonna say okay, because it's a lot
It's a lot to
that
unpack.
kind of just happened. First of all, I think that if you're making a decision, you have to weigh out several options, right?
Right,
Whether it's food, whether it's dating men or women, whatever your preference is, whether it's clothes, if you're buying a house,
right,
if you're purchasing a pet, if you are trying to figure out what doctor. The most stressful decision I've ever made probably was trying to figure out which doctor to to choose,
mm-hmm,
right?
yeah,
There's multiple doctors. They all specialize in the same thing. They all have great reviews. How do I how do I make a choice? So how I usually make a choice is you have to do a comparison analysis, I
mm-hmm,
would say,
mm-hmm,
and it's so many things going on in my head right now. I'm trying to reel it in,
okay,
but I would have to do like a comparison analysis to make sure I come up with the best option of what makes sense. Like, does that make sense?
It does. It
Like
does.
if like at least I would start with doc. Let's just take an example that you use. Like if I was trying to choose a guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I had dates with all these guys and these guys like, hey, Nat, I want to take you out. They were trying to pursue me,
Right.
right?
Right.
So they asked me out. I got 5 or 6 or 7 guys who are interested in me, right? We all go out. They all take me to nice restaurants. They all probably, I don't know, like dress the same. They may be around the same height. It makes it very difficult to choose which one is which. Like it just makes it hard.
Right.
So, I mean, you have to sort of make the most logical choice
Mm.
or make the choice that does that make sense so far? And that can be difficult for somebody to do, right? And speaking of dating, that's a whole nother. I'm trying not to go into that because I feel like that opens up. Because when you're talking about dating,
Yeah.
to me, it's like, okay, one part of this could be is he marriage material? Because that could just wipe out all 5 of y'all right there. Is he marriage? Is he somebody that I can honestly see myself with for the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about a long-term effect, same thing with your doctor. Is this a doctor that I can see that I think can treat me for long-term care, or is it just a doctor that's for primary?
Right.
Is she good at everything, or is she just good at some things?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you definitely have to do a comparison analysis. You definitely have to use logic. I think that you do also have to rely on some emotion, but I do think it should be a combined, sort of thing going on there. But that's just what I think, right?
Okay. I speaking on the emotion and logic part, right? Any adult, any competent adult, any adult that needs to have a mindset of thinking about the best things to do. They need to have a balance. They need to have a balance. You got something else you want to say? You got
I
something?
do.
Okay,
Before
go
I
ahead.
lose
Go ahead.
it. Okay, you just sparked something else.
Okay.
Competent is like competent and need and knowing. Let me just say this: knowing what you want. Know what you want before you make a choice. Because
Right.
if you go into making a decision where you don't know what you want, and this is why a lot of things fail. This is why a lot of relationships fail. People think they want to be married, but they don't really know what marriage is. They don't know what it takes. They
Facts.
don't understand commitment. They don't understand what compromise is.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have a definition of what these terms mean, it's different when you're putting action to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never experienced it, you really don't know what you're walking into.
Mm-hmm.
So know what you want. When you think you know what you want, because that's what you're doing. You're thinking you know what you want. If I know I want a job working in social services, okay, social services is a very big field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very big profession. I don't really know. I may not know all the facets of social services. I just know that I want a job working in social services.
Yep.
But then when you get in there, it's things in there. It's different, So it opens up a world of just different things that you never probably considered working in that profession. And that's just by example.
Right.
But at least start knowing what you want, understanding what you want, have some type of level of competency.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important because if you don't understand it, I don't know how you can want it. It's really just a want. I
Right.
want this toy, right? A kid, when a child wants something, they want it because they probably saw it on TV or
Mm-hmm.
because a friend had it.
Mm.
They don't know the function of the toy. They don't know what the life of the toy is. They don't know if it has a defect. They don't know if it takes batteries. They know is what that toy has. So I just want to say that. so, and I think that's really considering everything and doing and using logic to kind of make your decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you
and
what you got, K Dub?
and to that point, like uh, it's kind of hard to know like what you want before you actually get it. Like you can have an idea of what it is that you want until you actually experience that thing and understand, like, okay, these are the little nuances that I, like you were talking about, this battery chalk powered and all of, is this really, do I really want to deal with all of that? And whatever the decision is, do I really want to deal with this bell pepper tasting like this when I've got this cheese or whatever
Mm-hmm.
going along with it? And one thing that I've learned is that, like, I think uh, Jeff Bezos was saying it, just how you can, uh, like, 90% of decisions are reversible. Like, you can always step back, but a lot of times we get like, oh, I made this decision, so I got to go ahead and see it through. But
Mm-hmm.
that's really freed up a lot. Like, oh, I can reverse this. This doesn't mean anything against who I am as a person. I can actually, like, I'm good regardless whatever step I take. But I know, okay, this is what I want. I go into it, have to step back, and I'm still good regardless. But it's like, okay, knowing that you can take that revert, you got that, I guess, like an exit clause in every most decisions.
So here's the thing with that. When it comes down to most people either understanding or not understanding having an exit clause, you know, where that exit clause may go back to whatever morals or values that they have set for themselves in what they know they need in their life. How oftentimes do you have most people this day and age have that strength of understanding what they know they need and comparing that with being able to make the best decision when they do have multiple options, or they see one definite option and are going back and forth in their mind on whether or not that's the best option for them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
where I want to use Nat's analogy of, you know, the child with the toy. Okay, the child with the toy, and I want to be able to elaborate on that. So you have a child that wants a toy. You know, most cases the child doesn't really understand the value of a toy, let alone understanding how to take care of a toy over a period of time. You know, being able to understand, okay, the mechanics of the toy. You know, if the toy, excuse me, if the toy does break, where do I fix the toy? How to understand, you know, all the details when it comes down to how the toy works. Is the toy electronic? Is the toy just strictly mechanical? You know, does the toy, you know, is the toy, can I either purchase the toy outright again, or do I actually have to fix the toy? Because now, when it comes down to this specific toy, does the manufacturer still issue this toy out? You know? Now,
Mm-hmm.
let me take that and place that into the dynamic of relationships, of having a boyfriend, having a girlfriend, having a wife or a husband, having a partner, whoever, right? Okay, do they see their significant other as a toy, or do they see their significant other as the human being that is just the same as them in being human, right? Do they have a mindset of understanding, okay, maybe this human being, when it comes down to their mind, they are or have gone through certain things in their life that has molded them, you know, where I need to be able to understand what has molded their mind so I understand who they are as a person. There is this
True.
other psychologist by the name of Esther Perel. She does, I think, couple psychology, what may have you, marriage psychology, as far as couples being able to understand each other better, get together, what may have you. There's a particular quote that I'm going to share with y'all that she says. The quote is, and I'm going to say it slow. I'm pretty sure y'all get it. But the quote is intimacy as into me see. Intimacy as into me see. How often genuinely are human beings being able to see the authentic self of other human beings? How often are you able to authentically see the true person that is in front of you? How often are people vulnerable enough to show who they really are that will put them in the disposition of actually being the best choice for their significant other?
Not often
What you
at
think? What
all.
y'all think? What y'all think? No?
Not often. I
Yes?
mean, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Like not often. And a lot of times, I think what may be a solution to some of that you just mentioned is that for the person to actually see the value in themselves and understand the best person that they can be for themselves, right? If you don't know that, then how are you going to, when you do enter into a relationship, or and this is a relationship with anything, not just, at least how I see it, not just like a romantic relationship.
Right, right.
You can have a relationship with your children. You can have a relationship with your, I don't know, with your coworkers, with your
Mm-hmm.
colleagues, right? If you don't know the value that you add to yourself and what you can offer to others,
Right.
then that relationship is always going to be, sort of not strained, but okay, go ahead, because you
It's
look like
not
you're
gonna
gonna say.
be
You
there.
have a good amount of people that have difficulty in being able to see the context of the word relationship and being able to separate that from a romantic or intimate connection. Where relationship just says, I have a certain level of interpersonal dynamics with another human being or with someone that can also communicate with me. That's all really a relationship is. You could have a relationship with any other human being, any human being. But when we hear relationship and when we are groomed in a society that puts us in a mindset of, oh well, relationships are this. You're supposed to see relationships in this particular way. But then there is also a certain monopoly when it comes down to different companies that put out products that consumers delve into that places us in a mindset of now seeing other human beings more so. It's not really human beings, but just a product to delve into when it comes down to the scope of convenience. How
So,
can I use you in the utmost convenience that helps me to be able to gain what I think I need, but it's not necessarily a need. It's just what I've been conditioned to think I need. You know what I'm saying?
true.
And it's a bit selfish. I mean, I think that it's a bit selfish. So at that point, you're out for self. You're not really concerned about what the other person needs or what the other person wants. You're just out for how can I benefit from this situation? How can I benefit from this relationship?
And how
If I understand
often?
it right.
How
But but
often?
but but
Okay, go ahead. What you got?
but
What you got?
what's wrong?
Sorry.
What's really wrong with that at the end of the day? Like,
Okay.
because a partnership relationship, anything is supposed to be mutually beneficial. Everybody's supposed to come in with something useful, as
Ooh.
long as everybody's like, okay, I understand this is what you bring to the table, this is what I bring to the table, this is how we can benefit, this is how we can grow. But yeah, I'm gonna use you, you're gonna use me. Use me up.
Okay.
Use me up.
With one's using one another, is the usage out of the scope of love, out of the scope of connection, out of the scope of just using, you know? Like cuz you can use someone and you believe that using them is out of the scope of love, but you really don't have love in mind, you just have convenience in mind. This person does A B C D E F and G for me, right? And that's what I believe love is. But at the end of the day, I'm not really able to be vulnerable with this person because I really don't trust being vulnerable with anybody, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, that is a choice that I'm making because of me being used to seeing relationships or seeing an intimate connection in a certain way. You know, how often are
Mm-hmm.
we in intimate connections that is within the scope of our choice? But in that intimate connection, we're more so thinking about protecting ourselves versus understanding that vulnerability is also a dynamic that helps with becoming more connected with your significant other.
Truly, truly. So, I get what you're saying. So my question, my question to you is, or my question to everybody
Mm-hmm.
is, like, just I lost it. I lost it.
You lost
I
it.
lost it.
Come on, get it
I
back. Get
lost
it back. You got it. You got it. You got it.
it. uh, just I guess being like isn't at what point does self-preservation come in? That's one of the number one rules of humanity, self-preservation and the balance of vulnerability.
I
At what
think
point?
I think self-preservation is innate among all human beings. We all self-preserve in the way that we believe we should. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to paradox of choice, the different ways that we self-preserve, is it conducive for being able to establish an intimate connection? You know? The
Mm.
details behind, okay, I know, to give an example, I know me as a man in most cases, with me being able to show a woman that I have interest in her, I have to pursue. Doesn't necessarily mean that she has to open the door. You know what I'm saying? Even though I may pursue, the level of vulnerability with pursuing, I have to be under the ambition of, we end up having a mindset, um or you have a good amount of human beings that have a mindset where they don't really understand being purposeful in making a choice. Being purposeful in making a choice. Because going back to the whole logic versus emotions thing, where I do believe both are important. I do believe both are important. I do believe that couples, no matter what title you give it or what status you're at as far as marriage, whatever, you know, with couples, we must understand how vulnerability, but also being able to talk about the reasons why we do self preserve, how vulnerability helps with a better connection with someone that you can be vulnerable with. But then also, are you willing to make the choice to be vulnerable in a healthy way? Are you willing to make that choice? You know,
See that? Mm-hmm.
would you?
That
I think I'm sorry.
Oh,
like
go ahead.
there's a lot that goes into that because as you I guess the levels get deeper each time because it's like, okay, are you willing to be vulnerable? Then are you willing to be vulnerable in the right way? Are you willing to be consistently vulnerable in that way that you just learned? And it just keeps on going down and down and down. And it's like that back again, there comes the paradox of choice because then it comes back to dang, well, that doesn't really feel good all the time. It brings us back to the paradox of choice. And if somebody's willing to make that decision all the time because it can, because any change is uncomfortable. It's not normal. So it's like, uh, in the context of human to human, our is the person that I'm in relationship with, whether that's a romantic, business relationship, whatever, are they willing to walk with me through the like? Are they willing to walk with me through this new way of being vulnerable, of relating to them, and all right, and am I willing to do the same thing for that other person to allow them? Mm-hmm.
Right, right. What you got? What you got, Nat?
I was going to say, if you think about it in relation to paradox of choice, that's the reason why it makes it so. Actually, let me just split it. That could either be a reason why you have many people that you're choosing from, an ideal situation, or not an ideal. Yeah, an ideal situation is picking somebody that you feel like you can be vulnerable with, right?
Right, right.
But if you have multiple, options, if I have Tom, Dick, Harry, and Junior, and whoever else, I can't be vulnerable with everybody. Everybody can't know me at my worst. Everybody can't see my struggle. Everybody can't do it. So I got that one. I got that one who I can't be there with. But listen to me though. Because you got that one, unconsciously you made your choice. So why do you still have Tom, Dick, Harry? If you found the person you can be vulnerable with, I feel like you are setting yourself up.
Woo!
I disagree with that because you can you can have three pots boiling on the stove at the same time. So what I was saying was is that I mean, and it's just from personal experience because when I was on the scene, I'm not gonna lie, I had several pots going at the same time because I was on a mission and I accomplished that mission very well. So
But you knew what you wanted. That's why you were on the mission. You see what I'm saying? If you're a person that don't know what they want, and you just out there all willy nilly. Oh, he good at this. Oh, he good at this. But I know what's good for you. You know what's good for you. But you don't want that. You don't want what's good for you. You want what's bad
no,
for you. Not feels bad. Not feels like not sexually. I'm just speaking like overall.
right.
How often do we have solid within us what we know is actually good for us? Where that also goes into, paradox of choice, where we may be, having, and I'm gonna use your analogy, we may, or metaphor, we have, various pots of water boiling, you know what I'm saying? But then at the same time, we like, okay, which one of the pots am I going to be able to cook this pasta in? You know what I'm saying? And then when it comes down to pasta, we got to make a choice on what pasta to be able to cook the water in. And then in one pot, you see it's just a certain level of water, but then the other pot, you got a lower level of water, you
Because you
know?
got to know what pasta you want. If you cooking spaghetti, then you're not gonna cook it like lasagna, okay? If you're cooking shrimp
Facts.
scampi, you're not gonna cook it like you're cooking chicken carbonara, okay? It just depends on what you want. Just,
But yeah,
I think at some point, I mean, when you are boiling that water, you kind of figure out, you get an inkling or you kind of get a knowing of what you want and what works for you.
hmm
But it's at that point to choose if you're going to go with what you know is the right choice or to continue to go down this alley of I don't know. Because I can only use my personal experiences. At a point I knew like I needed stability and
a
somebody
job.
that was doing the right things and all of that, and I knew at a point I knew that, and I had to make a decision. Do I go down the straight path and do what I know is the right thing, or do I keep going down this haunted trail of disaster just because it seems fun? So, I had to go down the straight path because that haunted trail of disaster is not the way to go at all. At all.
Speaking of haunted trails, how often do people, through their choices, end up becoming conditioned? How often do people go down the haunted trail, right? And through them going down the haunted trail, they end up becoming conditioned by seeing all of the, Casper friendly ghosts, or, the skeletons, you know what I'm saying? Or, the huge spiders that want to suck your blood, but then all of a sudden turn into a vampire, and they think that's normal.
So, but that becomes a choice because I went far enough down that trail and made a U-turn. I had to make a decision. Am I going to blame everybody for all my run-ins with Casper, or am I going to give everybody a clean slate and not assume they're going to scare the crap out of my pieces? So you make a choice. That's another choice you have to make. Do you blame everyone for other people's mistakes? Or do you give that person the opportunity to make their own mistakes? And I made the decision, the conscious decision, to allow people to make their own mistakes and not hold them accountable for the mistakes that was done by others. And I will say that has to do to a reason of another Wilberforce professor who opened my eyes to that.
Okay. Go ahead.
I totally get what Kyra's saying, but that brings me to something else. I agree with what she's saying. I don't disagree. I just see a different. I see it through a different lens, right?
Speak on it.
So I
Speak on
get that you have multiple options. I get that sometimes, depending on the situation, you don't know which option to make. But women have women's intuition. I don't know if men have this, but women have, and it is a real thing. Okay, if I don't know what to make for dinner, and let's just say I'm making chicken, okay, and I may want fried chicken, I may want baked chicken. I got all the ingredients to make sauteed, rotisserie, baked, fried, okay, air fried. I got everything I need to make it.
Right.
Okay. And if I end up making, or if I don't use the right logic to if I don't know what I have a taste for, I just know that I want chicken. I don't know if I really want a taste for fried chicken. Don't know
Right.
if I want it baked. Don't know if I want. I just know I want chicken. Okay.
Right.
So I end up making something. Don't matter what it is, because I haven't made a choice. I just
Right.
fucking gave up and just decided, based on the fact that it's too much. I am fatigued by the decision I need to make. I'm tired of thinking about it. I do it all the time with Uber Eats.
So
It's too many options to choose from. But what I was gonna say to Kyra's point is that in relationships, or not in relationships, but when you're in the dating stage, if you there's always I'm a firm believer of there's always a choice. You always have a choice. You have a choice in the beginning, and you have a choice when you're in the middle of
In the
everything,
mix.
and
Yeah.
you have a choice at the end,
Yeah.
right? If I have 5 people that was pursuing me that I liked, and I make a choice whether or not I want to pursue them. If it's too overwhelming, I can also make a choice not to pursue any of them again.
Right.
I can also make a choice to, if it's too overwhelming with the 5 choices I have, I can always make a choice to to say, okay, it's too much. I can't make a choice. So I'm gonna scratch that. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna choose something else. And that happens a lot of times, very often, when you could have easily just found a way to narrow down those narrow down those options. Your best option could have been in those 5, right? I'm not
Right.
saying it is, but it could have been in those 5. So I think that you always have a choice. It's about how you go about making that choice. If you allow yourself to become overwhelmed, you really need to put some real thought into what you need. Like how Kyra was saying, it came a time where she knew that she needed stability, right? She knew she needed. That's a long term. Like I was saying, that's a long term.
Right.
But then you have these conversations now that's being had about, especially with women trying to choose men, where you're kind of like getting rid of the option of the idea of having how can I put this? There are conversations being had on several different social media platforms with different people and different groups where they are encouraging women, or they're showing women, I guess, or whatever, how to choose the high value man. Let's just say that that's also a choice that she needs to make. And why are we defining a relationship and whether he's high value or not? And what is high value? How do you define high value? Are you defining it based on how much money he's making? Because if you pick the choice of the guy who's, making all this money that you want him to make, you have no idea what type of person he is.
What
You
his
don't know if
character
you can
is.
hold a conversation with that person.
Yeah.
You just made the wrong choice, and now like you done married this person. You had babies by this person because you want to take some of their assets and you want the prenup and all that. But at the end of the day, you're still stuck in this situation. It's a situation, it's not a relationship. You're in a situationship by that point, and
Right.
you're unhappy. It's unfulfilling because of the choice that you made when you had other choices.
Okay. So
Don't think about it like that too.
K Dub, what did you have to say?
I was thinking about just the the I don't want to be too controversial. I can take it there, but I
Go
don't
no,
want
go,
to.
go, go.
But cause like I'm a big, I'll preface it like this: like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Kanye fan,
All right.
and like I am always trying to look deeper, and I'm a seeker, so
Mm-hmm.
I always try to look deeper at what's being said, and on the surface of saying slavery was a choice, I can see how people could. I told you I can get controversial. I can take it there.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go. Let's
but
go.
Oh
but
my
Let's
gosh!
go. Let's go.
I can see how people can take it there. Take it like, yeah, people can look at Kanye like, man, what is this dude talking about? Like that wasn't a choice. But like Kyra was saying that like at a point, like you have a choice at, you have a choice at a certain point. Are those options the options outside of uh where you're at, like the best options to make? It's not, but it's still like at the technical level of what's a choice and what's not a choice. I can understand. Can y'all chime in on
So
that? Like I can see how that's a choice.
I hear where you coming from, but then I go back to a statement I made last week about the type of people who turn Nat Turner in. You at that point you learn that there is no choice. Because if I do step up and do something, then my so-called brother gonna turn me in for a biscuit and a side of bacon or a better position within the house. So then you lose those options for choice. And I kind of think that's what happened to us. And because we're not taught about rebellions that were successful. Like in the Caribbean, they teach all their children about the Haitian rebellions, the rebellions in Cuba and places like that.
That's
They know
Dessalines. Dessalines.
how successful they were at getting freedom. We
Yeah.
were the ones that were never taught about a successful rebellion and
Mm.
freedoms that were gained. I didn't start learning about the Jamaicans and I forget what the people that was in the hills were called, but how who they were and how they got their freedoms and
Mm.
how they were protected because of that.
Yeah.
I didn't get that till
Mm,
adult, till I started meeting
mm.
other West Indians. So when he said that statement, for us it wasn't a choice because the American you're the Caucasian people here, they did well. And their system that they learned and worked out worked perfectly here. It failed in other places, but for some reason it worked on in this country for them
Yeah.
at that time. So it wasn't for us, it wasn't a choice. Over in other places, it was choices and they chose freedom and they got it because they fought and died for it. But for some reason over here, it didn't work out.
Can I say one thing on that note? So speaking on choice, if we don't really know about all the specific rebellions that happened, you know, could we say, if we did know, the example of those rebellions would show the paradox of choice too? Because the choices for those rebellions that we don't know show great examples of what we needed to see to change our mental conditioning of being able to understand that we have more power than what we think we do.
True, truly. Yeah, that being able to, yeah, see, because you only know what you see. So if you don't have it, it's like, well, this is all I have. School is
Where
all I got. This is the
speaking
best meal ever.
speaking on that in the concept of history. All right, so
Oh my.
speaking on choice, right? But speaking on the concept of history or his story, when it comes down to most of the history being written by the victors,
Mm, truly,
right?
truly.
Where we often will say things like, oh, well, you don't need to know about what happened in the past, but we need to know about what actually happened in the past. We also need to know about what lies have been told to change history, where we need to understand our story in reference to details on how we are more powerful than what we think we are. And through us going through, to give an example, I brought up Dr. Joy DeGruy, the lecturess or orator. I'll call her orator. The orator, who's also a psychologist, and she wrote the book Post Traumatic Slavery Syndrome. I talked to her about one of the episodes. But when it comes down to Dr. Joy DeGruy, as far as PTSS, you know, what could we have learned that actually occurred in history that now are placed in books that we can read, that places us out of the mindset of thinking that we aren't as powerful as what we truly are? And then with us being able to have that foundation in mind in this country, when it came down to the inception of this country, the inception of the American idea, us now being able to understand, okay, foundationally, we are this. So we now need to understand having this template and not making certain choices that places us in a mindset that is not conducive for us collectively, let alone individually. You know?
Can't frame. No.
Frank? Frank?
That was mine. That was mine.
We need to put little captions on the corner of our screen. Uh,
Yo, I'm not, okay, all right, I get it. I understand. I get it. So,
but um, so can you give like
an
an
example.
example of that?
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's the thing. So a lot of us may not really understand history, understand what actually occurred in the past, because we come from a system where we're taught foundationally, oh, the forefathers, are the fathers of this country. Christopher Columbus discovered America. You know, when Christopher Columbus didn't even set foot on this land. He set foot in the Caribbean. He set foot in South America, but he never set foot on this land. But he's accredited for discovering a place someone already live at. You know what I'm saying? Where that supremacist ideology, those details, automatically will place others who are not a part of a certain look, that those things that happen will place certain ones who are not of a certain image or a certain look, will place them in a mindset of, okay, well, since I don't look like them, I must be lesser than them. You know? And that is what has occurred, which contributes to the concept of post-traumatic slavery syndrome, PTSS, which puts us in a mindset of us thinking that we don't have the power to be able to do certain things, like go up against the powers that be. Understand, the concept of speaking, reality into existence as far as what someone is trying to do to you that may be oppressive or toxic. We may end up tying ourselves to behaviors that is honestly not good. Now, going back to the concept of that you were talking about when it comes down to Kanye saying, oh, slavery was a choice. Well, okay, what are you thinking about when it comes down to saying that? Do you mean slavery is a choice because you had only a few people jump off the boats, as far as, the Middle Passage and everything, and they were like, fuck this, I ain't dealing with this shit, I'd rather die in sea than be on the land and be someone else's, slave, Or do you mean when it comes down to us not knowing about the multiple other occurrences of rebellions that have happened because certain ones wanted to keep the information from us because they knew our story would empower the next generations to come? What details are you talking about as far as how it was a choice that we made? Because if you want to say that, then you have to go into detail. Because oftentimes, we don't really understand the power that we have inside to be like, fuck that. We about to go to war.
That brings me back to the Willie Lynch letter. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Okay?
Go.
So, no, I agree with that.
Right. Where?
So, because we were indoctrinated to believe certain things. Indoctrinated,
conditioned, trained. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. Speak on it.
We were trained better. Okay, we were taught. Okay, you killing me. Anyway, we were. Okay, it's a long day. Anyway, we were taught to these things, like to not like each other based on the color of our skin, to not like each other based on, or to be against each other based on our positions. And we were also taught and handed beliefs that were not of our own from where we came from. Like we were taught that, you don't seek retribution for something that has been done to you by somebody. You don't act out. You wait for the legal system or whatever system to kind of handle it for you. And it'll be okay because it's there for you.
But then at the same time, let me say this. Let me say this real quick, Nat. Then at the same time, mind you, we are also being conditioned by society that wants us to think a certain way because of the fact that they don't want any retaliation for what their ancestors did. Yeah, when it comes down to, being in a society where we're told those particular things, we are also in a society where you have a lot of people that don't want the retaliation from what their ancestors did or what they continue to benefit from. That places them in a mindset of trying to push us to now be within the thought process of what religion has also conditioned us to believe.
Religion is a whole different can of
paradox of choice.
That's just different.
Paradox of choice.
Go there.
No, I feel like, but for us, for African Americans, unfortunately, our enslavement and religion go hand in hand because that was the one book we were allowed to read and know about, and the one thing we were taught, and we were supposed to follow that. Obey your master. You listen to what he tells you without question. You do what he tells you to do, and it was preached in church. You were
Where
allowed to go to church. They would bring people to the slave quarters to preach to you, and the master and his wife would be there with you with the kids listening to what they were saying. So, unfortunately for us African Americans, that does go hand in hand.
it does go hand in hand, and you still have a lot of African Americans that don't understand the concept of how white supremacy was placed within the concept of religion to be able to see said uh, entity, deity, as divine, but then the promotion of was it Caesar Borgia? When it comes down to the picture of the white Jesus, you're now seeing your oppressor as divine. When in actuality, it does say in the Bible that Jesus was skin of bronze, hair of wool. Uh, he grew up in the Middle East.
Yeah.
He grew up in the Middle East, and you telling me he looks like
Fabio.
he looks like someone that just came straight out of Woodstock.
like
Is that what you're saying?
it's,
That's what you're
it's
telling
something.
me. You think I'm going to believe that lie? Like for the and you still got, and this is one thing I was talking to my wife about. You still got churches in Africa that have a picture of the white Jesus up just as pretty as possible. Like just sitting perched. Like, yes, that's him. Okay.
wow,
Like,
that's
So,
amazing. That's something that the
go ahead. Say what you was gonna say.
I was going to say that I don't think the only part of what Kyra said that I'm kind of like on the fence about is when I think she said something about because we know that the legal system is on our side. Is that what you said? Because
Well, no, it's
I
not.
can't.
But go
being
ahead.
no,
sarcastic, she was being sarcastic.
I was being sarcastic. We are made to believe that it's on our side. That
Right.
if we do A,
Oh,
B, and
okay, okay,
C,
okay. I
it's
was
going
just
to
saying.
work out within our favor, which in reality, it really doesn't.
No.
At all.
I don't think that we believe that though. I think that we know it's not on our side.
We're, yeah,
Like,
she
you know
was.
what I mean?
Yeah, she was
Like
being
there's
sarcastic.
Generations past.
evidence that it's not on our side.
In the past, we were made to believe that this is for us and it's going to work for us. We're woke now. A lot of us are woke and realize that was a lie.
That I think that I think okay. So I hear what you're saying, right? Like that's what we were told. What we were told and what we would I just don't believe that all African Americans during that time believe that. But when you have it sitting in front of you, right? Because the system also it enslaved us. Did it not? It also enslaved us. So if you think the same system that enslaves you, the same system that's going to be by your side when things aren't going, it's not. It's the same system. The same system then, and it's the same system. Probably a little different language, but this is the same system.
Right. No,
Then
and it is, but they tried to have us believe that it was in our favor.
Yeah.
Right. I get that.
So at the same time, like that, but like going to religion and paradox of choice, I'll use it like that's where I get confused a lot, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do. There's this because like I was just think about this the other day, just how I'm not a Bible scholar all the way, but I'm just saying like it seems like the Bible are that whole thing that it teaches us like not about to look outside of ourselves, not to be self like relying and have our own to have belief in our own self. Not saying that there's not a God. I don't want it to become a religious conversation, but
Right.
to be able to believe in self, to be able to feel good, like I can make this choice. This choice, I am going to be. I am making a good choice. All right. So like, and it gets to the point of like, is this the right choice that whoever like is that Jesus does this align with the values that I've grown up with and
oh, I'm gonna be punished if I make the wrong decision, and my life is gonna be so like out there that because I didn't make the I didn't make him proud or whatever. So I think that becomes a lot of where people get so confused in making their decisions, and that paradox of choice comes up. That
I
I
believe.
was
Oh, let me say this real quick. I believe that with the misunderstanding of the stories and the morals and values you can learn from the stories within most religious books, with the misunderstanding of them, I believe that you have too many people that honestly think that they need to fear making bad decisions when often trial and error will help you to understand what decisions you need to make after making a bad decision. Because a lot of people will see the pathways or the fork in the road when it comes down to success and failure, right? But in actuality, it's just one long path of failure needing to be seen as lessons, and you have from lesson to success to lesson to success. That's really how life goes. You got a bunch of lessons that you end up learning from. Hopefully that lesson doesn't put you in a disposition of harming yourself or harming ones that care about you.
mm, truly, truly.
You know? But we often see failure as the end all be all. And then through failure, either one or two things will happen. You will either self identify with the trauma that you have gone through, and that trauma becomes your narrative, or you will give up on life and believe your life is of no prominent or paramount or beneficial existence.
Oh man. And the reframing, like that's a big concept that I am that I've been studying on lately, just about being able to put that those old traumas or those old failures in a different light, and being able to see, okay, well, this did happen. You can't change reality. If you got hit, you got hit. That's just what
Right.
it is.
You gotta,
But
it's gonna scar up, it's gonna scab up, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? The thing is gonna heal, you know?
it's gonna heal. But the as long as but it's the perspective of what occurred, or what lesson could I get out of this, or what was it that what is the positive thing that's going to keep on moving me forward, instead of spiraling me down into, oh, I'm always getting hit on because whatever is, I'm whatever, I don't even know. But yeah, being able to reframe situations to be able to see the positive, and be able to go from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm.
Right. Right. What you got? What you got, Nat?
I was just gonna say, and this is non-biased, but by the way, I was gonna say that I was gonna say
Uh-oh.
that people that do practice any religion, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's Buddhism, Christianity, Confucianism, it doesn't matter, Judaism, that's already a whole. I believe, at least this is me. I think that it is so much that's already, that's it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to choose, and you see it in church. If you've ever been into a church, and especially into and okay, let me tread lightly. If
No, no,
you've
no,
ever
no. Don't tread lightly. Don't tread
Don't
lightly.
say
You
you
need
will
to be one of the rocks that's skipping on the water when it
no,
comes
you
down
will see
to.
it's hard to choose different things. You have some people who will say, "Oh, I'm this religion, or I'm that religion," but they don't. do everything. You're like, are you really? Because I saw you eat that pork at the town meeting. And I don't know. I don't
I
know. You
don't
know,
know.
I don't see you covered all the way. I don't know what's going on. Okay, you say you pray. You know, everybody else in there praying at 3 o'clock. Now you over here. You know, this is not okay. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I think that when you see things, at least when I see things like that, I don't think they have committed. And I talk to my students about this all the time, and as it relates to music, but it can apply in this situation too. That if you're not committed to something, it will show. It will always show, and you're probably not committed to it because you're in a battle with yourself about if you're doing the right thing. What if I'm not doing the right thing? What if I'm not, what if, I mean, people ask themselves these questions. What if God isn't real? What if he is real? Am I really supposed to pray? Do I really supposed to read the Bible? Am I supposed to study my Quran? Am I supposed to pray at the synagogue? What if I'm missing a step? Then what happens, right? And there is nobody or no one thing to tell you or to give you guidance. So it really leaves you out in the open. What I was going to say is that it leaves you open to kind of trying to figure out things for yourself. So you have to make a choice. Either you make a choice on what you want to do or you don't make a choice. But here's the thing, even if I say, okay, you know what, I'm going to make a choice to not choose a religion, because people do that.
Right.
I'm going to make a choice to not choose a religion. Instead, I'm going to do whatever I think best is for my life, is for my family's life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
There are people who do that. I grew up Roman Catholic. I can honestly say now I'm 36 years old. I just had a birthday. I do not practice Catholicism as I did. Why? Because as I got older, I educated myself. There's some traditions that I do keep. There's some that I don't. But and that I mean you end up kind of creating your own religion to yourself. I mean, honestly, that happens. That's a choice that you made. But even in that choice, there's still a little inkling of, am I doing the right thing? Right? I
True.
mean, you know,
Absolutely. Like
yeah.
I think the biggest thing is whatever precepts, maxims, tenets, little sayings, whatever things that reinforce uh, you getting affirmations to help you live the best life you can. That's what it's really about. Being able to live the best life you can without harming yourself or harming others. You know, being having the intent to being malicious to yourself or to others. I think that's the biggest thing that when the inception of religions, were coming to be, that's all they were trying to do. But then you have the aspect of manipulation in reference to how religions were used, getting people to murder others, take over whole countries, you know what I'm saying? Like various things, using religion as a means to push slaves to be able to see, you know, the slave master as divine on the same level as Jesus or God. You know, anything can be used for malicious intent, but it's for the human being to understand not doing that and letting others live their best lives in the best way they can. If you don't have that in mind when it comes down to studying your religion, you often fall within the scope of malicious intent, depending on how you end up conveying those precepts, maxims, scriptures within religion. You know, and this is coming from a kid who, when I was 5 years old, my grandmother would sit me down and read the Bible to me. I know certain scriptures by heart, but I use those scriptures to help me live the best life. I don't use it as a means to judge others. Like I was saying, was being able to live your best life with using the tenets that you're using to establish a foundation of being of good nature. You know, If your religion is not doing that for you, if you are always looking at someone else in a judgmental mentality or in a malicious, thought process, then you're legitimately using your religion of, malicious intent. You have the intent to try to make others feel a certain way that, goes against the aspect of living your best life.
There you go. Stop turning it up.
You know, malicious intent doesn't help you to live your best life. It places you in a
Please do not
disposition.
turn it up.
It places you in a disposition of being negative in situations where it's not the best, But so we what's up? What you got?
But real quick, answer this or not answer this, but help me with this. If we're talking about paradox of choice, I'm gonna back it up to the relationship thing, or even making a choice. If you're making a choice, can you make a choice without judging something? That's kind of
No.
hard.
You can't.
You know what I mean?
Judgment is within the process. Judgment is within the process.
Right.
But
Okay.
you don't have it. You don't have it as your end all be all. It's in the process of getting to understanding.
Right.
Because often we end up using judgment as a catalyst for making a choice that probably we should not have made. It probably wasn't the best choice for us to make. We have it as the foundation versus having it as just in the process for gaining understanding of the person that you see before you. You know what I'm saying?
So,
What you got? What you got, Caleb?
what are anybody? What are your thoughts on committing to a choice? Being able to say like rain, sleet, hail, snow, I'm in there. I'm not about to turn around and say, "Dang, this wasn't the right choice. This isn't it."
I believe the commitment someone should have to a choice, that commitment is the energy from what they already have established within their foundation of who they are. Like, you can't go into some, or you, sorry, not can't, but shouldn't. You shouldn't go into something without understanding what it is. You have to understand, I'll put it in this perspective. You have to understand the science of something to be able to create your own art. That goes into relationships where you understand details of, okay, I don't cheat on this person. Okay, I try to love this person the best way I know how. That's the science of it. But then you must understand all the nuances of the science, be able to gain a mastery of that to a certain level, a certain degree, because all masters must understand they're continuous learners. And then create your art, which is your relationship. That's how to reinforce being absolute when it comes down to your choice. Make sense?
Definitely. Like being able to, I guess, from what I hear you saying was basically to dive into whatever it is the choice that you make, understand every single thing about it that you can.
Every single nuance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll put it like this. With anything in existence, the creation of that thing has things that helps it to exist. To go back to the example of recipes, right? You have ingredients to a recipe. But then also when it comes down to the ingredients, where do the ingredients come from? But then being able to find out where the ingredients came from, how did the ingredient come into existence? process of deconstruction back up to reconstruction to understand the hovering concept, which is for the choice that I've made when it comes down to picking a significant other, who are they foundationally? What can I break down to be able to understand this person better? How can I contribute to their happiness that they should already have within themselves foundationally?
And that's one of the problems too, because a lot of people enter into relationships and they're not happy, and so they're looking for that. They're looking for that from the other person.
They're
That's
trying
already
they're trying to
flag.
force somebody else to give them
Yeah,
the happiness that they have lost being able to give to themselves. But in
due to poor choices.
to due to poor choices, right? But then also we got to talk about the aspect of what I like to call, being able to shoot them ARs, or the aspect of understanding how adversity and resiliency ties back to accountability and responsibility.
I agree. I also think that if more people understood how to use the process of elimination, it could work in their favor, right? Like if we're talking about recipes, if I'm making, and I don't know why I'm always making chicken. Let's say I'm making something else. I'm making something else. One thing, let's say I was making steak. No, let's say I'm making scrapple. I don't know if y'all know what scrapple
I know
is.
what
If
Scrabble
you
is.
don't
Go
know
ahead, say
what
what you
scrapple
got to
is,
say.
do you know what scrapple is?
K Dub.
It's little, it's pork, and it's literally scraps of the pig. It is the leftover of the pig. Well, I think it's like from Pennsylvania or something. Anyway, you fry it. Well, some people fry it, some
Yeah.
people bake it. It just depends on how you like it. I like mine fried, so you have to coat it with flour
Hmm.
and put it in some grease. Anyway, scrapple, if you've never made it before, it would be a perfect example. Because if you don't do your background on what Scrapple is, what's in Scrapple, and you decide to make Scrapple and season Scrapple with salt and pepper and other stuff, you've already made a mistake. You
Right.
haven't done your background.
You have no
Scrapple doesn't need to
research.
be seasoned.
Right.
So you're gonna season it, right? Kind of like bacon. Bacon doesn't need to be seasoned.
at
If
all.
you already knew salt was in bacon, if you already knew bacon was a source of fat, if it was a source of sodium, you would have that information.
Right.
But if you don't know that and you try to add it to that, it's going to overpower everything, and you're not going to want it anymore because of the choice you made.
Right.
Does it? Yeah. So that's how I look at it. And you can
So
eliminate. Yeah, I don't need salt. I don't need this. All I need is bacon and grease.
that's
And I
all
was
I
gonna
need.
mention same thing with relationships. If you figure out, for example, a lot of mistakes, and me and Kyra was talking about this offline, but one of the things we were talking about at one point was when a woman enters a relationship, sometimes we know we want, a lot of times we don't. Why? Because there's too many options. It's too many options. It can be too many options with two guys. It doesn't even have to be four or five or six or seven. I mean, honestly, it's just too much. I can't think straight. I need a breather. But one thing that we talked about, I'm like, if you have somebody who had kids, do you think about that? Do you want to be a priority, or because you'll never be? Process of elimination. If you know that you want to be that person's one and only, if you know that you want to be a priority in the relationship and you don't want to share that person with with anything else, then you should know what to do. Why stay in that relationship when
Don't
you
get
already
yeah.
know what you want? You
or
know?
or being able to understand compromise in the scope of being on the priority list, but understand you will never be number one.
Yeah.
You know, where being able to open up the multiple possibilities. Where okay, yeah, I know I'm not number one, but I'm number three. You know, but then you got a lot of people who are like, fuck that, I don't want to be three. I'm going to be one regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless.
And
Regardless.
men can do the same way too. If they're going into a relationship or they're pursuing a woman, And some women hold back. They won't tell you, oh, I have children. They won't, because they know that the man's process of elimination
There's a
is
double
already
standard.
like blink, 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 right? Like he's already weeding it out.
There,
So
there,
she's gonna, yeah.
there's often a double standard that happens when it comes down to a woman wanting to date men with children compared to a man wanting to date women with children.
I am interested in knowing what that comparison is like. Maybe that should be an episode because I'm here for that. That's what I'm here for.
It, it is because in the past, prior to me getting married, in the past, I've dated women with children. I've only done it twice. Okay, the first woman that I dated, she had a boy and a girl, right? Next woman I dated was a boy within his teens, getting up to age where he's about to leave home. You know, different dynamic. The two kid woman, uh, they were fairly younger. They were, I think it was like 5 and 7. Other one, first meeting him, he was 14. Totally different dynamic, right? Where, what level of compromise are you willing to, be in mentally? You know, if I had children, would she accept my children because I'm a man? Because oftentimes the double standard is, you know, women have children, so you should be able to accept me for having other children. Versus the aspect of, I know as a woman, I really can't accept a man having another children because for me, I see those other children as a receipt from the other woman that he's been with.
And not only that, but can I just, I think for the women, it's probably a double standard, but I will say for the woman, I have dated, like you, I have dated men with children.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't bother me because
Depends on the
it
woman
didn't
though.
bother me. He changed his past, right? So I'm not going to judge
Right.
him on what he did in the past. He
Depends
got
on the
his
woman.
kids.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my decision. In that moment when I know when I am privy to that information of him having children, that's when I need to make my decision. Is this something I can deal with?
Absolutely.
Once I make that decision and it's final, right? And I say that because some people go back on their word, but once I make my final decision and I say, okay, it's not so bad. I think I can deal with this. A lot of the times, it's not the relationship with you and the kids. It's the relationship with, it's a whole lot. I can just, okay. It's a
Yeah.
relationship with
So
you
nuanced.
and the kid's mother. That's a whole different can of worms. And it depends on what type of man you have. It really does. It depends on the caliber of man you have. Is he able to set boundaries between his kid's mother and your relationship?
That can also be
How
another
does that
dynamic.
look? What
Right.
does that look like?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you're not thinking about that, or if you haven't had that conversation with him, that's already a problem for
Or
you, not for him, because the kid's not going nowhere,
or
right?
or or and I'm gonna just put this out there as an example. Or when it comes down to the scope of boundaries, right? Are there any boundaries? Can there be a dynamic where the man that is in your life and the child's father can have a relationship? And a lot of people don't even want to explore that because it's more so, well, that's your ex. Your ex should be your ex, and I'm your new or your only, you know?
Reality is that that's never going to be, this is how I see it, right? That's your
Okay.
family. Whether you want them to or not,
That's
that's the father of your children. That is
facts.
your family. It
Facts.
doesn't mean that I'm not here. It doesn't mean that I don't matter to you, but I know my place. I believe in places, y'all. I'm kind of old school, but I
Role.
know my
Yeah.
lane.
Yeah.
My lane is, as your woman, I do this, I stay in my lane. If I know that you have children, then I also know that those children have a mother. I also know that that's your family. Whether you want it to be or not,
Yeah.
it's nothing I can do to change that. So I have to
Right.
make a choice. Either I accept it or I don't. I move on. I find something else that I want. But don't stay in that situation if you know that's not what you want. If you know that later on down the line, where this person has children, maybe you want children. They already have children. They may not want more children.
Right. That's
Well, you
also
have to think about stuff like that and really process of elimination and see what you want. I never had kids, but I never had kids, and I've thought about adopting, right? But that was a choice I made to make sure I take all precautionary to not have no babies, okay? And I don't have any babies, but at the same time now, like I said, I'm 36, and I kind of feel like maybe I should have taken the opportunity earlier in life to have kids. Because as I get older, I don't have a family, right? I have family, but I don't have like my own family. Like I don't have kids and a husband and all that. So then that's a choice I made. But was I thinking about that then? No, I was 20 something years, so I wasn't thinking about that then, right? So
what you got, Kyra?
So within that, when I was in that phase of my life, I made a conscious choice to never date anybody with children. I did at some point date people with children, and then I realized, again, at a wonderful conversation I had when we were in college with some other young ladies, that me being an only child, I don't want attention diverted from me. So I don't want it diverted from me. And when I have children, I don't want that attention diverted from my children. So I made a conscious decision to only be fair is to date somebody without children. Because that's diverting their attention away from the family that's in the home to another family outside of the home. So I made that choice. Now people can look at it a different way or call it selfish or whatever, but to me it made perfect sense. And there are other people who think just like that, because again, the idea came from another young lady. We were having a conversation. So for me, that was major. Like it was a light bulb that clicked in my head. Like, no, I honestly don't want to date somebody with kids because it does pull away. Because they get called in the middle of the night because the kid with the other mom is in the hospital or they're having drama and problems, and I did not have time for that. I didn't.
Yeah.
can I say this? I'm sorry, this is the last thing I'm gonna say.
No.
I agree with what she's saying, but there are some points that I don't agree with. But I was watching a movie, and I am a friend. This movie opened up my eyes. It did. And at the end, I don't remember what it was called, but at the end of the movie, it was basically a movie on the All Black app, and it was a movie about a woman who was dating a man from an island,
Hmm.
and they entered into a romantic relationship. Okay, she started liking him, blah 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 blah. Then it came out that he was actually married back in his country with a child.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, she was all heartbroken, and he explained to her, "Yes, I am married. I came to this country to better myself
Hmm.
for me and my family." He never denied his family. Okay,
Right.
and well, after she found out, right?
Yeah.
And so when she got, but this is the part that really, and I mean, it really hit home. When she went, he invited her to go to his country, and he said, "You can stay with my family." Hear me out, y'all. He said, "You can stay with my family, with my wife and my kids after I had an affair with you." And she said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yes." They went to the house. Okay, she met the wife. The wife greets her as if nothing, as if it's all normal. Okay, and there was a part in the movie where she treated her just like she would treat guests. She fixed dinner, she took her coat and everything. This is the part that really hit home. It was a part in the movie where her and the wife were sitting in front of the island beach or whatever, and they were talking. And the woman somehow found out about the affair. So the wife said, "Oh, I know about the affair. What's wrong with you?" And the woman said, "Hold on. Oh, it gets good." And the woman said, "Well, you know about the affair, like you know everything." And she says, "Yes." And she said, Well, how can you live with that? He is basically sleeping with another woman. He's taking me out. He's doing all these things. The wife, the wife says, well, he's a man. And what we have to understand, and what Americans don't, this is what she said, what Americans don't always understand, or don't grasp the concept, is that you don't take ownership over a person. And I was like, come, bring it home. She said, you don't take ownership over a person. You don't own a person. You cannot basically control what they do, what they will do. Then she said, he is my husband. He's the father of my children. His first obligation is to me and his family. He may be there with you and treat you nice and all those things, but guess what? I have no control over that. But at the end of the day, he's going to always come back home. He told me about the affair, but he didn't tell you nothing. Can you live with that? And she was like, huh. When I told you, I was in front of that TV like black, every woman or every person needs to really get that concept that you don't own a person. So that made me think about what Kyra was saying when she said that she doesn't want the attention diverted. I get what she's saying. Trust me, I get it. I was not the only child, but I get it. But I also believe that you can't control where a person's attention is diverted. I got a boyfriend right now. He is he's my man. He's not my man, but he's my boyfriend, right? I'm loyal. I don't cheat and all that stuff. But if we're walking down the street and an attractive woman comes down the street and it catches, I have no control whether or not he's going to turn his head and look. I have no control whether or not he's going to, now he probably won't act on it, but will his attention be diverted? Probably a little bit.
I need to say this. I need to say this, and I don't mean to cut you off, Nat. I don't mean to cut you off, but I need to say
No,
this.
I'm done. I just wanted to put that out there because it opened my eyes, and I think
Right.
some people should really think about it like that, honestly.
How much more could we connect to a person, human being, whatever, right? When it comes down to who you would consider to be your significant other, if we let go of the energy of trying to control them as a human being. How much more could we connect to them if we understand that our needs within the scope of convenience has nothing to do with how they are as a human being? Like, seriously. Where if we are so used to, and I will put in this perspective, if we are so used to thinking about things only in a few ways or one way that only comes from our mind, then it often reinforces a thought process of believing things keyword should, only be a certain way, which cuts off the possibilities of exploring a better way to understand the human being that's in front of you, let alone you being able to further understand yourself on a higher level or a more enlightening level. I tell my wife all the time, I know you're a human being just the same as me. I'm not here to control you just the same as you're not here to control me. We are here to just improve the quality of each other's lives because we love one another. But you got a lot of people don't even understand that.
And that, I think, would be a key ingredient for the process of elimination when you are choosing someone or when you are making that choice. I just, when she said that, I was like, you have taught me something today, lady. You have taught me. And I mean, it was the most eye-opening relationship advice, with like whatever you want to call it, I had ever heard. And it was on a movie, at the end of the movie.
Mm.
But
And the woman walked away really getting a sense of herself, and and the wife walked away with her guy, with her husband. But
It's
it
something.
really taught you something, you know.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
If someone chooses you from your true authenticity, if someone chooses you from your true authenticity, meaning you are showing your true self at all times and are unapologetic with it, I believe through making that choice, you have established a better connection with someone that will not try to control you, let alone try to project their perception of what they think you should be because they chose to not see who you really are.
So how do you get to like the the questions to ask to see if somebody is being their true self?
Here's my take on it. My take
I
is my take is it's not really about asking the question. It's more about not having fear in asking the question. Because oftentimes we are afraid to be vulnerable enough to say what needs to be said.
Mm, mm,
In the moment,
truly.
it needs to be said.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
You know,
And
Because
some
I
people
want
want
this person to like
recognition.
me. I don't want this person
I
to
so
take.
much want this person to like me, but I don't want them to know anything really about me that they may see as unattractive. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Fuck surface level attraction. Surface level attraction. Because oftentimes, when it comes down to being able to know somebody, get to know somebody, try to get to a new level with them, or for that matter, either, bounce on the floor or clap cheeks, whatever you want to say it, however you want to say it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Fuck all of that. Who is this human being? Is this human being willing to show themselves authentically and unapologetically?
Hmm.
Are they willing to understand the benefit in being that vulnerable off rip? Do they believe vulnerability is something that can be done in a healthy way?
And I
Most.
think it's also like
Me.
a,
Go ahead, Nat. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, I agree with everything. And I was going to say, when you are vulnerable with someone, that's also a choice that you're making because whoever you choose to be vulnerable with, you obviously trust that person enough, right, to be vulnerable to be almost just undress yourself in front of that person
Right.
to be yourself, right? A lot of women are not themselves when they meet men. I don't know about men, but a lot of women are not. Like when usually most times when, and this goes across the board. This isn't even a race thing. This is all kinds of women. Usually when a female is meeting a guy, even and I'm old school, y'all, so I believe that a man should choose someone. But that's me. It does not mean that I won't go after a man, but I'm not gonna chase. I'm not gonna pursue because I feel like if he doesn't choose me, then I'm not the one for him. It's fine. Anyway, but I was gonna say that if you are undressing your feelings in front of a person, that's a big thing. Most women are like you meet the representative, especially a lot of women. Like you're not meeting her, you're meeting, her wigs. Okay, you're meeting her high pitched voice. I'm just being honest. I wear wigs. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You're meeting a lot of different things. You have no idea what that woman looks like when those lights go on. Okay.
You mean the
You don't know
wigs, you
how
mean the
she acts.
foundation, you
She's
mean the
not with you.
lipstick,
Like you don't know,
you
and
you
vice versa.
you
You're
mean
meeting a different person.
you mean you mean the wigs, you mean the lipstick, you mean the foundation, you mean the eyelashes, you mean because you got some women out there who do this. You mean the contouring of makeup in certain choice places. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I
I
don't know
said it.
about that.
Yeah, I said it.
Now I'm guilty
Yeah, I
of
said
everything.
it.
Now I'm guilty
Yeah, I
of
said it.
the hair and of the
Look, let me
eyelashes
tell you
and of my
something. Look, you
nails.
got some women out there who
Now I don't know
will
about the makeup. I don't know what that is.
contour their bust.
Well, men do it too. Now there are men who contour. Men do it too. Okay, I'm a makeup queen. I will not lie, and I've seen it. Men do it too. So we ain't the only ones out here. And now the whole thing. Rihanna
I
even
get it.
has a whole line of
I get
men's
it.
makeup. So it just ain't us.
I'm just saying. It's
Well, what
just,
are they talking? Are they putting makeup on their cleavage, or what are they
they
doing?
Yeah, they're
literally to
making
make them.
themselves look like they have
They have
pecs.
bigger, you know, a bigger bust.
Bigger breasts for
Yeah.
women?
Yes. You got. Look, I'm gonna say it authentically and unapologetically. You got women who are out there trying to contour their titties. Okay, they contouring their titties, and then all of a sudden they be like, "Oh, you know, I got something bigger there," and then all of a sudden it's just like, "No, you don't." Look, I could take one finger and just be able to swipe and then understand that I got some paint to be able to write something on the wall with or on a canvas. You know what I'm saying?
So it's
But
the
I
body
just don't
contouring
understand
thing
why
is
they do
real,
that.
but
Because
it's just not women that do
men,
it though.
I know, Kyra. I know women just, but look, let me tell you something. You know, oftentimes, you know, when it comes down to an idea that's brought out into existence, everybody's going to try to benefit from it somewhere, somehow. And I don't
exactly.
believe that men were the first ones to be able to try to contour their pecs.
Men are
Actually,
representatives. Black men don't got no
actually,
damn
they
hair.
do.
Fucking using hair.
So for
Uh,
like the so for like
Okay.
bodybuilders and stuff and like the fitness influencers, that's where it really started. The body
But
contouring started with them.
then you
they
got
probably
to
they probably got the idea from women.
look
Like we
makeup.
cause
Like
dudes be following.
look.
Dudes
Are we
do
going?
beards. You done seen the videos, dude hairline back
Where they be
here,
having a
nice.
man
He
piece?
got
I
They
the
be
better
having
not
a
be no.
man
I
piece.
better not.
You know what
I
I'm
better
saying?
not be no man.
And
No, I
you
ain't
like
man.
this dude went
I can't
from
do it.
this dude he went from who can we
It's
say
It
that
crazy.
was
was from
old as
nothing to
hell,
something. That's what
that
that
was, you know,
shit.
bald. Oh, you this dude went from George Jefferson, right? Went from George Jefferson to Steve Harvey when he would get the man pieces. Cause
Yeah.
he was the first one that would do that shit. And he was on his show, the Steve Harvey show, and he would be high stacked, like about right here. And you'd be like, we
hmm
know that shit's fake. We know that shit's fake because we saw you when it came down to, you know, Showtime at the Apollo, and you were already balding during that time. So you think you got a full head of hair? Come on now, stop playing.
Yeah.
Stop playing.
Well, you got women out here who's doing like like the booty pads and things like that. I'm serious, and
Right.
that's not new.
It's
That's
not.
not new.
It's not.
Yeah.
That goes way back. The whole booty thing goes way back.
Like,
But I don't think. But I also look at the fact of why. What are they doing it for? Why?
yeah,
Because they want to impress you. That's why they're doing it. Because
it's
they
it's
want you
it's out of the scope of
to.
attraction. They want to be
Yeah,
attractive. You know.
they want to be attracted to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know. But
And you get
If it
some
if
men
it
who will blatantly say, I mean, maybe not y'all, but now I'm about to defend my women.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I, I gotta do it because you got some men who will blatantly say, y'all, I want a woman with long hair, or I want a woman with a small waist and a big ass, and blah 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 blah. Blah. So what do women do? They go out and they try their best,
They
looking like all these
transform.
broken Barbies out here.
They
Okay,
transform like Optimus
yes, that's
Prime.
what they do. They try to impress. I mean, to impress because and I can't.
You know,
You gotta do it.
here's my thing. Like,
But
if
it's
if
gonna come
it's
out, okay? Because if y'all get to an intimate level,
it's my thing
all
is
that's
like
gone.
the
you
more
gonna
you have
do?
to, you know, clip off. The more you have to clip off,
Trip
you know,
off.
after, you know, before, you know what I'm saying, the aspect of intimacy, you know, physical intimacy. The more that you got to clip off, I'm just saying, it's like you just ruined the whole fantasy. You know, like you ruined it. But then I know that's me, where it's just like I can't deal with too much fake shit. I can't I can't I can't deal with too much like come on now, like you don't you. I know, like breast jobs are every now, just it's a dime a day. When it comes down women now this day and age getting breast jobs, but it's just like God damn, like you done got the breast job, you done got new cheeks. You know what I'm saying? You done ended up getting the butt inflation. You know what I'm saying? Like you legitimately went down to Mexico to go fix it flat, putting your cheek.
Well, let me tell you this. If I could compare, and let me compare two things. I've dated outside of my race, right? So I've
Mm-hmm.
dated like this guy that was Honduran, and then I've dated black men. Okay, the Honduran guy, and this is true, the Honduran guy, I had got so used to wearing like the weave and the lashes and things like that, that he was curious to see what I looked like with my natural hair. So I was afraid. Okay, it took
Mm.
everything. But I did. I took it off. I let him see me, and he looked, and he liked it. He was genuinely. I thought there was something wrong with him. He was genuinely attracted to that. But here's the thing: just when I got comfortable with, because he gave me a sense of self esteem that I did not. I couldn't find it. It was hidden. I could not find it. But in that relationship, I did find it. Now, the relationship is over, and I done met this black guy. This true story. I came out with I think I had like this big afro or whatever. And it wasn't like afro. It was kind of flowy or whatever. And I didn't have my nails done. I didn't have all that stuff done. He said, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" That's what he
Uh,
said to
uh,
me.
uh,
That's what he said. And I said, "What are you
the,
talking about?" And he was
the,
like, "You ain't got your eyebrows arched. You ain't got your hair done." He said to me, "I want some yaki." And I was like, "What do you know about? First of all, what do you know about
Oh,
yaki?"
wait. What?
I was like, "What is that?"
What the fuck?
This was a true story. You know what I did after that? I went out and I went back to my old self, because it was like, and that was a choice I made, right? I had a choice to keep my, because in some instances, I think that we do choose to yield to what and in some instances we don't. Like some, it's like a hard stop. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I want to do this. But if you're in a situation like that, for me at that time, with the person I was dating at that time, he didn't like my natural hair. He didn't like the fact that I didn't have on, artificial nails. He didn't like the fact that my eyebrows were arched. So what I do, I, you give me a day, I go out and I get some yaki and I get my eyebrow. Now I look like a whole different person.
Here's my take.
You
So
know, for different standards of beauty for
at,
different
at
people.
at one time I did date outside my race. Um, and I was always that one where show me what you really look like. I don't care what race you are. Show me what you really look like. Stop trying to be something that you're not. You know, that's my take on it. Like if a black woman has a blonde wig, I'm like, okay, did you grow up in Africa where you actually grew up in a tribe where naturally you have black people who end up having blonde hair? Or did you buy that from, beside the corner store when it came down to, the wigs that they had over in, the beauty supply store? You know what I'm saying? Like that's my like I can't stand when I see our European brothers and sisters with locks. Like I'm like that don't look right. It don't look like it looks like they look like long halfway blonde dirty turds just flowing.
Okay. Now
flowing.
that was a little harsh, don't you
No, no,
think?
no, no, fuck that. It wasn't harsh.
Well, that's how you see, big guys in skinny jeans. Okay,
And that's my
know
thing.
what's wrong
Like,
with
how the
that.
fuck look? You about to pop out of them? Like, you can't even hardly walk. You're walking like a kickstand. Like, legitimately, that's You can't move your knees. You can't bend your knees.
Well, that's also a preference. There was a comedian that basically said, "I hate to see a fat bitch with long hair." He said that. That's exactly what he said. He said, "You go outside, you see a fat bitch with all this hair." That's what he said. I'm not lying. When he said that, I got offended. Why? Because I am plus size. So of course I'm gonna feel a certain way. And because he said that, as a man, as a black man, now you feel like, damn, I thought that they like this shit. They don't like this shit. Oh, but they do like this shit, but they don't like it on me.
What's a
So
rule
now
of
you
thumb?
have people questioning themselves. I'm telling you, that's how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
But
What's a
you
rule?
know,
What's a rule of thumb is everybody is not gonna like the same thing.
yeah,
But also another rule of thumb is you have certain groups of people that have been conditioned to like one thing.
true.
But
Real quick, Kyra has to exit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she got to go pick up some food for her family
All
when
right,
she
all right,
got
all right.
babies. They were
So,
not
Chicken
guest stars
nuggets.
tonight. They were not our guest stars.
hey,
They
we
usually
gonna
are.
cut
They
it.
usually
We
are.
gonna cut it off right now because we're gonna try to do another episode of this one. I think we should extend,
This was
this
pretty
topic.
good.
So we
Yeah,
gonna do a
definitely.
part two to this one. You know what I'm saying? But
All
nevertheless,
right.
this is Real Rock Exchange podcast. I'm Frank, and I appreciate my co-host for tapping in on this conversation and everything. And I definitely appreciate K Dub for coming in on the conversation. So nevertheless,
Definitely.
you know y'all take it easy and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Later.
Bye.
bye
Later. See
bye.
y'all.